Hi, everybody. If you've ever wanted to pick a zookeeper's brain while watching gorillas just a few feet away, this is your chance. In today's video, you'll get to eavesdrop on a live Q&A with one of the gorilla keepers at the Cleveland Metroparks Zoo. This was filmed during a special winter keeper talk. The zoo offers these talks throughout the colder months as a way to connect with guests who brave the cold. In this video, you'll get to listen in as James answers a steady stream of questions from the crowd, all while the gorillas go about their day in the indoor habitat. Now, a quick note before we jump in. We missed the very beginning of the talk, so you'll hear James mid-answer, and we don't get to see his intro where he introduces himself. But don't worry, you'll quickly get a feel for his expertise and enthusiasm as the questions keep rolling in. This keeper talk runs about 30 minutes, which is longer than our typical video, but James shares so much interesting information, we think you'll find it both entertaining and full of fun gorilla facts. From social dynamics to training techniques to what the troop gets up to in the winter, there's a lot to discover. So grab a snack, get comfy, and enjoy this deep dive into gorilla life at the Cleveland Metroparks Zoo.
So Kayembe was premature in the beginning, so we actually had to hand raise him for a little while. Nanika did not pick him up at birth, which that can happen with many different species. I've seen it in warthogs and many other different species. Sometimes they just don't have that motherly instinct in the beginning. So Fred actually took over the care of Kai, which she is our oldest gorilla at 50 years of age. She's had, I think, 8 kids of her own. So she's very socially savvy within this group, and she just picked him up within, I think it was the first 30 seconds. She had him up and was taking care of him. And the cool thing about it is she actually started to lactate through suckle and lactation. And we actually were able to express that and test it, and it was across the board normal for gorillas, which was awesome. So he actually started to nurse off of her. We were providing supplemental bottle feeds also. We had trained all the gorillas in maternal behaviors. So they were all trained to go and get the baby, bring the baby to us, and then present the baby so that we could do bottle feedings. And then also we have a baby box in the back, and we train them to also be able to pick up the baby, put the baby in the box. And that way, if we needed to transfer the baby to us, we could even do that. Which we even had Makola doing that. And we trained them. We actually had a gorilla stuffed animal or a little tuppy that they would pick up, and then they would put it in the box, and we were able to shut a door to be able to, transfer in and out. So yeah, we took care of him for a little while. He actually developed aspiration pneumonia because he was underdeveloped. So we actually had to take him into an ICU situation. So he was, IVs. We had him in an ICU, and that was during COVID. So we had Tyvek suits, N95 masks, face shields while we're holding him in an 85-degree room. So we took care of him for a little while, and then we had to reintroduce him again. And then Fred picked him back up, and he's been with her ever since. So as you can see, they're kind of napping a little bit. And then, of course, Fred, he turned 3 years of age, which we weaned him off bottles around 3 years. In the wild, they can go up to 5-6 years, depending off nursing. He still does nurse, but a lot of that is just a soothing mechanism for him. So he's getting most of his food from eating it. He actually has his own diet now. We're kind of treating him like one of the adults. He gets separated in the morning to get their high-valued items, and he's doing great. So he's kind of our big story here that we had. And then Jameela, another big story of ours. She was from Fort Worth. Same kind of situation, except for her mom had a C-section. That's all done under anesthesia. So when she woke back up, they didn't have that initial bonding. And then she was not accepted back to that group. They tried with multiple females, and that just did not work. So we got in touch with the SSP and the gorilla group, and we were one of the zoos that were picked to take Jameela on. So she came here. We tried once as an introduction. It went well, but Fred did not pick her up right away. And I think it was a little bit of a confusion on, what is her role. She already had a kid, which, Kai was getting older, but she already had one, and she was a little confused about, should I take this baby? Should I not take this baby? So we did a little bit of training with them. So we did fission fusion, and that's where we kind of broke the groups down into smaller groups, and we put Fred and Katie together, and we thought that that would maybe give Fred a little bit more confidence. Those two were introduced together first whenever the females were brought to Makolo years ago, and they kind of developed this bond, so we were able to put them together without Makolo, and they worked well. So I think that kind of boosted her confidence, and we were able to, you know, introduce her in with that smaller group, and then extend the times. And eventually, she picked up Jameela and then started taking care of Jameela again. So she is mom to Jameela now, and Jameela's doing great. I think that's her right there. I believe.
The little one in the
Yeah,
back?
the little one. And like I said, she's nursing off Fred. We do bottle feed her twice a day. She actually just transitioned from formula to cow's milk, so now she gets 300 cow's milk twice a day. So we still do supplement her, and that's just because we don't know how much Fred is actually producing. We can't really quantify that. So that's why we're giving her a little extra support on that too. And she'll be bottle fed up to, same as Kai, probably around 3 years of age. And then our other little girl, Kunda, is, I mean, it's a great story because we didn't have to do anything with her. Kayembe took care of her from the start, nursed her. We've had to supplement her a little bit, but nothing, we have not had to intervene at all. No hand raising. We had to hand raise Jameela for a little bit as we were introducing. So we were hands-on with that, which that's 24-hour care. That is, the gorillas have to be on you. So we actually had coveralls that we had that kind of mimicked gorilla hair, and they would attach to us, and we took shifts, and we were all here 24 hours. So we did that with Kai also. And yeah, so that was the greatest stories with them. So.
How do you separate them in the morning? You said you feed them.
So yeah, so we downstairs in their bedroom area, we have doors that we can kind of partition off
I see.
where they can go. So we don't feed their high value items together because gorilla social groups, they can actually hold grudges on each other, and they also have a hierarchy. So Makolo is the highest, and then they also have a female hierarchy. So if we would feed high value stuff to them, it could cause altercations and problems within their social structure. So we give them all their high value, which high value for them is romaine lettuce, green beans, anything fruit, because they only receive about 55 grams of fruit a day. Their diet is very low sugar. Because we do not do any biscuits here, it's an all natural diet, so we do browse and greens. It's up to, 80 to 85 pounds of greens just scattered, and that's not including the romaine in the morning, and about 2.5 pounds of green beans. So yeah, and Makolo has allowed us through training to separate them in the morning, and we do it in a way that Makolo has access to all of them as we separate. So, because we don't want to cause any, we don't want to separate and have Nanika and Kayembe together, because that might cause a problem and start a fight. Because fights and altercations do happen within gorilla groups. It looks and sounds a lot worse than it usually is. So, but we do have those sometimes.
When it's time for them, you said they sleep downstairs?
So yeah, they have a bedroom or holding area downstairs. They actually prefer to sleep down there. So they have access upstairs, but then a lot of times they'll nest. So they'll nest in the afternoon and nest at night. They'll take all the materials that we put down there and create nests of each down in the halls in the different rooms. And that's kind of their favorite place to be at night. Tusa will sometimes come up here. So Tusa is part of the group, but she's kind of an outcast a little bit of the group because she kind of likes to stay on the outskirts of the group. She kind of sleeps up here sometimes, but she's actually doing really well here. But she just kind of, that's her behavior. She kind of likes to stay on the outskirts. So.
Do they come to you for a scratch or a pet?
Sometimes, yeah, not so much the adults. The adults, they'll interact with you if there's food involved and if you do training with them. The Kai will come over and want to play, and he'll come over and present body parts to me for attention. Jameela, you say her name, she just stares right at you, and then she'll kind of come over. The adults, usually it's training, which they know a lot. Actually, tomorrow I'm doing a voluntary echo on Makolo. So Makolo does have heart disease that we caught a long time ago, even before I started here, so he's on medication. So most of them are on medication. or some kind of multivitamin and all that, which we actually just give in cups in the morning with applesauce. Mix it all together, and they take their meds really, really well. I don't never have to worry about it. So Makola tomorrow, so they're trained for that. So Makola will do 2 different hand positions, and then he presents his chest through the mesh, and then we're able to put the probe on his chest and get a picture of his 4-chambered heart and all of that. So they're trained for voluntary injections, which we just did their flu shots a couple months ago, and they took it all voluntarily. Bloods, which we have a blood sleeve in that exhibit over there, which they are trained to stick their arm in. And Makola, we can get blood work for him, and also I think we just got some on Tusa. So we bring up our vet techs, and they come up, and they've worked with them. And sometimes we'll just bring them up to feed them, just to build that relationship. And yeah, they'll come up and draw blood.
But you're giving him treats during that time, so they know they're gonna get a treat.
Yeah, and that's what, so we gauge on, so what we're having them do, we gauge on what higher value reinforcer we'll give them. Usually what works real well with bloods or injections is peanut butter. Peanut butter is a big one. Grapes, but the grapes have to be red for Makolo. He's not a big fan of green grapes. So yeah, there's all these different things we have to take into account. When we're asking them to do something like that, and it's all voluntary, we don't force them to do anything. If they decide they want to walk away, then we don't train that day. So it's all positive reinforcement with these guys.
Is the flu shot the same as the human flu shot?
Yeah, we just get it from a human pharmacy, and they send it over. And yeah. They even got their COVID vaccinations when COVID was around. We were able to do that voluntarily also.
Okay.
But they know, even when presenting body parts, so we can kind of look, they know foot positions, they know hand, open mouth. They know the difference between open mouth, lip, and tongue. So they can do that. Makola, we get his heart rate every day. So we have a Doppler that we put on, and we record his heart rate every day. So yeah, they're trained to do a lot of different things. So even when Katie was pregnant, we trained her to do an ultrasound and present for us, so we can get a picture of the baby. We're doing that too.
There's no danger to the trainers, you guys?
So there's always some kind of mesh between us. There's no direct contact with the gorillas because they are considered DAs, or dangerous animals. You know, their size and strength, we always have some kind of barrier. I definitely would not want to share space with a gorilla. So anytime we need to service up here, they are downstairs or outside. So we're always shifting them around before we enter anything. And then we have double lock checks. We have another keeper come behind us to check locks, and we have to count them every time we move them. Yeah, so there's a lot of safety behind it. Because even if they might not, you never know. They're very strong. You know, Makola could poke you, and you'd get a big bruise. You know, because he's just 400 pounds and a very strong gorilla. So the females are around a little over 200 pounds, and he's about 405-ish. He fluctuates between like 4 and 405. And Kai's already up to, oh man, he's almost 60 pounds now. 55 pounds. He's grown up. And he's only a little over 3 years old, so.
And when they're downstairs, when you feed them, are they, I'm sorry, I didn't hear, are they separated?
So only in the morning. So only in the morning they're separated, just because we feed out higher value items that we don't want them to fight over.
Oh, okay.
Because if we would scatter green beans up here, or we would scatter romaine, they would run and try to gather up as much as they could, and then Moke might try to displace them, and then that might cause problems within the female hierarchy. So we try not to, our husbandry, we try not to cause issues within the social structure.
Okay.
Yeah. You see Kai's doing his spins.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kai wants to play. He'll play with Makolo, but he wants to play with the little ones too, and he gets a little rough sometimes.
So
But.
cute.
He's a gorilla.
Any other questions?
Do they little ones play hard together?
Kai tries to. Kunda's getting a little bit, but then she'll get to a point where it's a little too much for her, and you'll hear like a little bit of a cry from her, and a lot of times Katie will break that up. But she was such a helicopter mom. Like even when Kunda was first born, she would turn Kunda away from us as keepers and wouldn't allow us to see the baby. So Kunda, for a while, she wouldn't even let off of her at all. And finally, she let her travel on her back months ago. And now she's finally letting her kind of explore and play. So she'll play a little harder with Kai, but then it gets to a point where Kai gets a little too much. seeing Kunda and Jameela play together is really cute. The two little ones, because they'll get up and play with each other and tackle each other and run across. So they're pretty fun.
I don't know.
But they can get rough. They are very sturdy though. The kids, they're yeah. So you see them fall, or Kai grabs them and pulls them across the bottom. They're not being hurt at all. So they're pretty hardy kids.
Can you see what the kids are doing?
Are there any features that you can tell the two female babies apart, besides being by their mom?
Yeah, I mean mainly their behavior's a lot, but Jameela is a little bit more. I call her a potato because she's just very solid and not as long. Her arms are not as long. I would say Kunda is a little thinner and a little more lanky. So we actually have two kids. We have Jameela, who on average is a little heavier for her age, and then we have Kunda on average, who's a little lighter for her age, which is fine. You find variation in babies. In humans, other species, it doesn't matter. But so she's following a good curve, and we're keeping track of her weight, and we're keeping track of all that. But I would just say that Jameela is a little more beefy than she is.
Okay.
And then if you look at their faces long enough, their faces look different, but Jameela is starting to look a little more like Kunda in the face just because she's getting older and they're only 6 months apart. But you will see that I think Kunda's a little more mobile than Jameela, so you'll see her moving around a lot faster. But mostly the lanky and long arms.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Jameela, the
What time will you be doing the procedure tomorrow?
so that I think is 11:30. 11:30 tomorrow. Potentially.
So it's viewable by us if we're here.
We'd be in the back, so you would see Makolo's back, but you'd be able to see us back there. Because they're doing some stuff I think over the rainforest, and they're coming over here.
Oh, the vets are, or?
The vets. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they should be here around 11:30 to do that. We're actually having someone from the Cleveland Clinic come over with us. So we bring a sonographer over, and then she'll actually look at everything with Makolo, and then they'll take those back and do measurements on his heart and do a bunch of stuff. So we have a good relationship with the Cleveland Clinic, and we do a lot with them. So we actually, for Fred's arm, when she broke it a while ago, and they had to actually put a rod in her arm here. We had to do physical therapy with her, and we brought physical therapists in to help us with her therapy. And we actually do physical therapy with her in the arm sleeve with her left hand, where she'll put her hand in, and then we can actually reach in the one side and manipulate her hand, and reach in and grab her hand and manipulate it. Which her hand's doing well, but she's getting a little older, arthritis, which we medicate for that also, to try to keep her comfortable.
So speaking of her age, I'm very curious.
What's that?
Speaking of her age,
Yeah.
I'm very curious. So Jameela's been brought here to have her as a surrogate mom. What happens in the unlikely event that Freddie passes away?
If she passes away.
Yeah.
So that would be interesting. We would have to figure out whether or not, I do not think Nanika would pick her up and take care of her. We would try here to see if one of the females would take care of her. So Katie would probably be our best bet to take care of her. But if it came down to it and we could not get one of the females to take care of her, we would probably have to look at other zoos to see what we could figure out. But depending on, if Fred would pass away and she was older, it would be a little easier if she's a little more mobile. Right now, we would have to figure something out. Hopefully Katie would take up that position since Kunda's a little older.
At what age would she be self-sufficient, I guess?
Yeah, she's going to be a lot more mobile 2 to 3 years. So 3 years she's going to be mainly eating all of her solid foods, even though they technically can nurse till 5 or 6. But then she would come up to us to bottle feed, so we can still supplement. But she would be taking most of her greens and that her physical means of just eating greens and browsing. So yeah, it would depend on the age. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they
Because,
fed?
she's considered geriatric, and Apollo's actually technically considered geriatric at his age of
Oh, is he
37.
really?
Yeah,
What is he,
so
36?
37. Yeah, 37's a little getting up there for males because they live into their 40s. Females can. Females can live into their 50s, and we've seen even closer to 60.
Are they fed organic vegetables because of the sprays?
Yes, yeah, we always do it. Like even with the browse, we get it from the Metroparks, so none of it is sprayed with anything, and same with all of our greens. Yeah.
Okay.
Do any of them have any known allergies? Allergies
I mean, I haven't seen it here, so I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they can, but we haven't seen it in this group. Yeah. But if we did have anything with that, then we would have to just kind of either if it was something in the greens or something like that, we'd have to switch it out for something else, or we would probably medicate them through that. But I have not seen that. No. I can sit and watch these two all day. Any other questions?
Will you add any new girls?
What's that?
Will you add any new girls?
Not in currently where they are, no. I know that we're in the process of building primate forests within the next 5 to 6 years, but we're at max capacity right now with the space that we have, even outside, downstairs, and up here. And we're kind of limited with winter, of course. But in the new area, we're going to have 5 exhibits. 4 of them will be inside under a material that will allow sunlight to pass through completely so that we can have a lot of plants and everything so it looks like jungle-like. And then 1 outside. So we'll be able to rotate them within those 4 exhibits and not have to utilize. So we'll have a lot more space, which potentially means that we could have multiple groups. We could have a bachelor group or another family group, or we could have a family group and a bachelor group, because we would be able to manage that with the space. Right now, we're kind of max capacity with the space we have.
So would that mean a possibility of Kayembe staying for a longer period?
We would hope so.
Okay.
At 6 years of age, he is going to have to go to a bachelor group.
Right.
At 6 years of age, because Makolo, wherever the male, is not going to tolerate that, him in the group.
Yep.
So he would either, I don't know if this is all through management and the gorilla group and the
Species
SSP
survival,
and where
right.
all that goes in, but they would find other boys for him to go with if that meant him going to a different zoo, or if we would have the facilities here,
Okay.
or if he would go somewhere and then maybe come back in the future once we had the facilities.
Okay.
I would love to keep Kai here, of course, but that's a selfish thing. But yeah. So, because 6 years of age, they would go join the bachelor group. They would be called blackbacks. They call them also the punk years.
Yep.
That's what they call them. And then usually closer to 20 is when they would take over a family group. That's silver on their back. So
how do you decide where the gorillas end up? Is it all just genetics and
mostly genetics, yes. So like Makolo is very well represented within the population. So we would talk to someone with the stud book, the SSP. They would look at all the genetics and what gorillas they wanted together, and then they would do all that and switch it all around wherever they needed.
how many children does Makolo have?
Makolo only has 2.
Oh.
2, yeah. He only has these 2.
These
Yeah.
two, okay.
Yeah.
That's right, because he was part of the bachelor group for a long
Yes.
time. Right?
Yeah, this is his first family group, but as far as it is now, he's pretty well represented now. I don't know, I mean, there could be more recommendations down the line, but that always comes to us through the SSP and GBAG, the gorilla group. They kind of give us the recommendation, and then we decide through keepers and management whether or not we want to proceed forward, and then if we say yes, we take them off birth control, and then let nature happen, so.
Do you
But
ever
we're-
mix
we're-
in any other animals?
What's that?
Do you ever have any other animals visit them?
Yeah, they'll bring up Riva, who is a parrot that we have here. They'll bring her up in the morning sometimes. So yeah, sometimes they'll bring different animals up through here, which they're always very curious animals. So I think they do that with the orangutans too. They'll take other animals past as like enrichment sometimes, and just to come up and see what they do.
They're outside of their cage area.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It would be out here in the main floor area where we would just like walk past and yeah, because we can put Reba on a perch and she'll just kind of go along with us. So.
What temperature do they start going outside?
So it's usually 60 degrees. but we kind of had to fluctuate with that a little bit because of the kids. So that's for the adults. The kids, we had to boost it up a little bit because Kunda was getting a little cold at 70-ish. So hopefully they're a little more hardier now. So we're hoping, and we take into account 60 degrees if it's raining, if it's high winds. But if it's sunny and clear, we can put them out a little bit below 60. It just depends on what the weather is. They hate the rain. And I don't know if you've ever seen any videos of gorillas running from rain, but they will do that too. If they see and I open the door to go outside and it's raining, they might just not go outside. So we have to take weather into account. But we do bring in snow for them though. So they have seen the snow. We'll bring in snow and put it over there. And actually, I think it was a couple weeks ago we did that, and Kai was having a blast with just throwing snow around. So
You put it inside here?
yeah, we'll put it in like the container over here, the little troughs that we'll put it in. And Kai was just sitting in it and tossing it up in the air. So
Are you
doing more of the animal tours with their orangutans now that they're associated with guests?
I actually don't know. I don't know if they're doing more tours over there or not. I know that they do keeper tots also, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they do more. I was gonna say I think they do because we have keeper tots Saturday, Sunday. We'll have this whole winter thing going. But yeah, I don't know if they bring people in there or not. I don't know. I know they do a lot keeper wise because they have more time since there's not as many animals over there, so they'll spend a lot more time with them. And they do a lot of enrichment with them. Gorillas, we do enrichment, but a lot with gorillas is if it's not food involved, the adults don't really get into it as much. Orangutans are a little more inquisitive, where they want to like pull things apart and figure it out. Now the kids, we put toys in because they just like to manipulate things and throw things and be kids. But yeah, because if an orangutan was in here, all of these would be down because of the clips.
They would have figured it out immediately.
Right. I worked with them for a year when I first started here. And Mira, we had ropes, and she was they were banded, and she would take the strands out one by one until the band was loose, and then rip the rope off. So, yeah, these guys, that's just too much work for them, and they just want to nap and eat. They don't care about that.
That's why the orangutans are so scary. It's because
They're so strong. Like we can put tools and different stuff on the outside of the mesh downstairs. If we did that with orangutans, they would be
they would figure it out.
somewhere. Yeah.
They also seem much more engaged with the humans.
Yeah.
They point at you, they laugh at you, they do things.
Where the gorillas are kind of
care.
like, they'll side eye you and then
Yeah.
go, oh, you're there, and then they'll keep going. Yeah. Yeah, gorillas are a little more. I mean, the kids will interact a little more, but the adults are kind of If you don't have food there, they're like, I'm good. Yeah.
So the silverback on gorillas is the same type of arrested development as it is with the orangutans' faces, with the pads for the dominant male. I didn't realize that was arrested development for gorillas. So it doesn't appear till they're all dominant.
This little crest.
And so these two youngest are the only kids in Makolo?
Yes.
I hope I said that.
Makolo?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, so he has a Kai and then Kunda are his. Jameela, he just is adopted.
That's fair.
So, but like he was fine with it. He didn't care. I think he just looked at her one time and said, "Oh, there's another one," and then it kind of went on.
He doesn't seem all that involved anyway.
No, he'll play with Kai. Like that's kind of the most involved he gets. I think with Jameela, he came over and sniffed her once and like, oh, hi, that's a baby, and then yeah. So he'll be pretty involved with Kai as he gets older, and he does play with him a lot. And Kai does follow him around a lot and watches him a lot. They can do mimicry also. I mean, I think you see it a little more in orangutans than these, but with these guys, but they can mimic, and that's why training sometimes, like he'll be watching Makolo doing training, and then they can learn from that. But he follows Moke around all the time and wants to, like, what are you doing? And kind of figuring out how to be a male gorilla,
I was gonna say, I think I saw that earlier when Makolo came over and he started eating the bark. He's just sitting there watching.
He just watches it. Yeah. He's
Does
cute.
being on birth control affect the lactation? Or
No, because I think the birth control they have her on. No, we did switch her to a different birth control before. Now Fred's not on any just because she has a hysterectomy, so she has her ovaries but her hysterectomy. So they did find a tumor that they had to extract all of that. But since she kept her ovaries, she was able to lactate, and the supplement-induced lactation and everything was good. So yeah. Fred's been through some things. She's a great story. She's a great mom. She's fantastic.
She's got that mom exhaustion on her face. She's like,
I mean, she took on 2 kids at 50 years of age, 49 to 50 years of age.
She's like, why did I do this?
She's back there in the corner.
Yep, she's right there. Yeah.
How many kids has Freddie raised?
I think it's 8 that she has raised. Yeah, she's good. She's good. She knows. She's like the matriarch. She's like a matriarch of this group. No one really bothers her too much. Well, except for Kai. Except for Kai. Kai does. Uh-oh. They hear footsteps.
And the young male, when does he get a silverback?
So that's closer to 20.
Oh.
Yeah, 20 is where it's closer to 20 years of age is when in the wild they would go and challenge another male for their group and then hopefully win that group is what they would hope for. Yeah. So closer to 20. No sharing. No sharing.
So here's a question. Why does Kai, I saw with Kunda earlier, kind of picks her up and drops her?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that just a learn? Because I've never really seen him do that before.
Till today, or?
I saw it yesterday and today.
That's just him just learning different ways to play and do. She's just.
It's just like
yeah.
it kind of picks her up and just drops her hard.
Yeah, he's testing what he can get away with. He does test a lot. He was testing Tusa a couple weeks ago too, so he likes to see where his boundaries are, and he likes to test it. He'll go. I swear he does that thing where he goes and he just stares at you in your face, and he's just like, I'm not touching you kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But he's testing his boundaries. He's learning the hierarchy of the group. He's learning kind of his placement, and it takes a little while for that. And he's learning how much he can get away with playing and roughhousing with his sister. So, all right. Any other questions? All right, I'm gonna go clean some things. So.
We hope you enjoyed this special Winter Keeper Talk as much as we did. Big thanks to James for sharing his time and all the fascinating insights into this gorilla troop. If you learned something new or just love watching these incredible gorillas, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more sweet animal adventures. We'll see you next time.